I'm so excited to share this piece with you. When I thought of this idea, I've been trying to work out how I could pull it off, and while I know I can improve on the final result, I'm so happy with it. So let's dive in. Something I'm working on is planning out my paintings beforehand in my little sketchbook. I'm really happy to be going back to creating mountains. I think it's my favourite sort of texture to create. For this, the texture paste I'm using is filler mixed with a little bit of water just to make it a bit smoother. Have you tried creating any textured art? I'd love to know in the comments if there's a style that you have tried or if there's a style that you'd like to see me try. I'm really trying to learn about texture paste and how to create the different consistencies for the different styles. I'm finding it quite hard to find the information, but it's fun experimenting too. My other mountain pieces that I've done have been quite detailed, especially in the texture paste, but for this one I wanted to do something simpler and more minimal. You'll have seen that in a few of my recent pieces I've been using joint compound rather than filler, and I was so happy to return to filler. It's so much less messy and I just really enjoy how you can shape it. Joint compound is really good for getting the smooth result, especially on the texture cone pieces, but filler is so nice to work with when you're using a palette knife, and especially for these mountain pieces, I just really love working with it. I want to try some proper modelling paste as well, but I don't know whether I'll be switching what I use for these mountain pieces because this just seems to work so well. I'm really enjoying creating and coming up with new ideas. I keep thinking of different things I want to try and also lots of stuff I want to learn. Something I have to be patient with is the gap between the things I really want to do and all the ideas I have and my actual skill level. Ultimately, I can't suddenly be incredible at every technique I try. It takes practice and learning and just trying again and again and again. But it's about enjoying that process, learning as I go, and being able to recognise when I do improve. This week has been crazy for me. I've had an unexpected trip to the dentist, which I didn't enjoy, and it's just been a busy one with work, so it's been really nice to have this piece to keep coming back to. I actually created it over 4 different days. It was nice to not rush through it and take time and think about each step and be able to come back to it and leave it and then come back to it again. For this piece, I was just creating mountain shapes. I didn't really have a photo source that I was basing it on, and I do think you can tell. I think that there's something really valuable in having a photo source to base it on and just go off of, because then you can see the shapes and have an idea of what you're trying to create rather than just doing it from your own mind. But I do think that it came out well and I loved doing this one. I can't wait to do my next mountain piece now. I have found using this plate has made getting the right consistency of the texture paste so much easier, and also the right positioning on my knife. It's so much easier to be deliberate with what I'm doing, so I'd really recommend using a plate if you don't already. I've been working on my website this week so that I can start selling paintings. I am really not sure that anyone is going to want to buy any of them, but I won't know until I try, so I'm setting up my shop and we'll see. After letting the texture paste dry for 24 hours, it was time to paint the piece. I started by covering it in a complete layer of white, and I don't know about you, but looking back at the footage, I actually really like it just completely white. It really lets the texture show through, and I think I might create a mountain piece where it is just white in the future. I can't remember whether it was a podcast I was listening to or a video I was watching, but on it they were talking about quantity and quality. So often people say that it's quality versus quantity and you have to pick one. But on this podcast or whatever it was, they were talking about how you actually can't have one without the other, and you can't be good at something without putting the time in and the practice after practice after practice to get to where you want to with it, to get good at it. And so actually it's quantity that leads to quality, and they are intrinsically intertwined. I've been thinking about that a lot as I paint. It's quantity that leads to quality. In a lot of ways that's really exciting because it means that anyone can do whatever they want to. It's just about putting the time and the effort and the practice in to get into the point you want to. As soon as I added this red, I really wasn't sure about it, but I thought I'd just do it anyway and see how it came out. After letting it dry and taking a look at it that evening, I concluded that it wasn't what I was going for, so I decided to paint over. I wanted to go with something a bit more monochrome, so I added the grey instead. I also wanted there to be a better change in how dark the front layer was compared to the back layer, because before I felt like it was a bit flat and I wanted to add a bit more of that depth, so I created a much darker grey for this front layer. Once I had finished painting the mountains, it was finally time for the part of the piece that I was really excited about. And the idea is to add people into the mountain to bring it alive and also make it a little more fun and relatable as well. So I spent the week kind of practicing drawing people. I find it really hard to draw people. I've never been any good at it. And so this was really hard to try and do. But I drew lots in my little sketchbook, and then I had one more try before I decided to go for it. I know I'm going to need to practice more, but I'm excited to learn, and it would be good to get better at this and not just feel like, oh, I can never draw people because I'm no good at it. I actually sketched out on the painting first using pencil, but you couldn't really see it, so I've just skipped to the painting. I used a tiny little brush and I decided to go with quite bright colours because I wanted them to stand out and not just fade into the background. I really want to get better at painting little people, but this is the final piece and I'd love to know what you think. I'm really excited about this idea and I feel like it adds a whole extra dimension to these mountain pieces. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with me today. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you for my next piece. Bye.